Hey everyone, welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a huge topic from the 5th session of the Self-Worth course. We're unpacking the psychology of self-value, and specifically, we're going to look at why constantly playing the fixer in everyone else's life might actually be the exact thing destroying your own peace. So, let me ask you something right off the bat. Honestly, does your life ever feel like a giant dumping ground for other people's emotional baggage? Do you somehow just constantly attract people with endless, unsolvable problems? Well, if you're nodding your head right now, trust me, you are definitely not alone. Let's jump into part 1, the dangerous savior trap. Take a look at the stark contrast here. On the left, you've got the cultural myth. Society totally romanticizes this idea, right? We're taught that endless self-sacrifice makes you this highly valuable, almost saint-like person. But then you look at the right side, the absolute psychological reality, and it's a harsh truth. You simply cannot fix someone else's life. It's just not possible. Tying your own self-worth to your ability to rescue others, it doesn't make you a saint. Honestly, it just leads to deep, profound burnout. True worth comes entirely from within. It never comes from how many fires you can put out for everybody else. And falling into this trap creates a highly toxic cycle in your day-to-day life. It usually goes like this. First, you sacrifice your own needs. Second, you start broadcasting this rescuer energy. And ironically, that actually attracts deeply troubled people to you. Think about that well-intentioned person who just continuously attracts toxic partners or hires incredibly problematic employees. Why? Because they have this absolute subconscious need to play the savior. It's like a magnet. Then, step 3, you inevitably become exhausted and resentful. And finally, step 4, you just repeat the whole cycle because you're desperately seeking that hit of external validation. Moving on to part 2, internal versus external worth. Now, this quote exposes a really uncomfortable truth. Think about it. Real help shouldn't be a trade for validation. Often, if we're being completely honest with ourselves, we help others not out of pure altruism, but simply to buy a feeling of value. We do it because we're terrified of feeling completely useless. So we're basically trading our time, our money, and our energy just to get a temporary hit of external approval. And here's the core difference visualized. On the left, we have helping for approval. This is entirely based on external worth. When you help from this place, you're secretly keeping score, aren't you? You're expecting gratitude, loyalty, or maybe a return of the favor down the line. But on the right, look at helping from completeness. This is based on unshakable internal worth. When you help from a place of completeness, you have absolutely zero expectations, none. You give freely and you move on instantly. It's a completely different vibe.
Right. Part 3, the illusion of changing others.
Look at this statement. We possess absolutely zero ability to change another human being. I mean, let that really sink in. It literally does not matter how much time, money, or endless love you pour into someone, you absolutely cannot force an internal shift on someone who just isn't ready or willing to change themselves. It's a tough pill to swallow, but it's the truth. To put this into perspective, let's look at a pretty shocking story from the source material. So there was this person who saw a struggling family on the local news. Feeling that absolute burning need to be their savior, this person actually offered the family a newly remodeled home to stay in. Incredible gesture, right? But because the family wasn't ready to change their own internal habits and mindset, they utterly ruined the property. It cost the well-intentioned savior $30,000 just to clean up the damage. $30,000. And why? All because you simply cannot force change from the outside. Which brings us to part 4, the law of frequency and right place. So, what exactly is the law of frequency? It's basically the principle that every single person is exactly where they are supposed to be, based on their own mindset, their own choices, and their own actions. Essentially, the universe makes no mistakes. And truly understanding this is a game changer. It effectively removes that intense, crushing responsibility we put on our own shoulders to save everyone. They are on their own necessary journey, and they are experiencing the exact results of their own choices. And that builds to this harsh reality. You attract exactly what you focus on. If you're constantly focusing on victims, on misery, and on playing the ultimate fixer just so you can feel valuable, well, you're only going to attract more misery and chaos right into your own life. You literally become a walking magnet for endless problems. No one wants that. Let's pivot to part 5, the power of boundaries and release. So how do we actually break free from this? Here is a highly effective, practical 3-step toolkit for disengaging from these toxic savior dynamics. And the best part is, you can do it without feeling a single ounce of guilt. Step 1, listen without taking responsibility. You can be a perfectly empathetic ear without actively taking their heavy backpack of problems onto your own shoulders. Step 2, acknowledge their capability. Remind them they have power. And step 3, step back and completely release control. And to help you with step 2, here is an absolute golden magic phrase straight from the course. When someone tries to dump their problems on you, simply say, "You are highly capable and can solve this yourself." I know, it sounds incredibly simple, right? But it is so powerful. It completely empowers the other person while fiercely protecting your own energy. You aren't abandoning them, you're actually honoring their ability to navigate their own life. Okay, finally, part 6, helping from abundance. Check out this chart on how your energy should actually be allocated. Notice that a massive 60% of your inner resources is strictly for yourself. That's your health, your peace of mind, your well-being. Then 30% is dedicated to your own personal growth and your goals. And only the remaining 10%, the overflow, is energy meant for others. This is absolutely crucial. Genuine help only happens when your own cup is full and overflowing. It should never, ever come from a place of painful self-sacrifice. So what does true help actually look like? Well, it means giving without expecting a single reward. It means instantly forgetting the deed the very moment it's done. It means feeling zero resentment afterward and absolutely not keeping score. Seriously, if you find yourself feeling bitter after helping someone, you didn't help from a place of abundance, you helped from a deficit, and you were secretly seeking a return on your investment. Now, as you start applying these principles and you finally drop that exhausting savior act, something truly beautiful happens. Quality connections start to replace those codependent burdens. You'll naturally start attracting high-quality, joyful relationships where people just want to enjoy your company. They don't want to use you as a free therapist or an emotional dumping ground. You start connecting from a place of shared joy rather than a place of mutual need. It's night and day. To wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a really profound question, something to deeply examine your true motives moving forward. The next time you feel that familiar, burning urge to jump in and save someone, just hit pause and ask yourself, am I doing this for them? Or am I really doing this for my own sense of worth? It's a heavy question, but it's a game changer. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I highly encourage you to keep questioning the real why behind your actions. See you next time.